She told me, "You're the guy women marry when they stop chasing dreams. You're too safe." I said, "Then I won't keep you comfortable anymore." She left to chase a millionaire. A year later, her postcard said I was the piece she'd been looking for, that we were 3 years into a relationship that, at least to me, felt like home. Not fireworks, not chaos, just steady rhythm. We lived in a small apartment overlooking the city, spent weekends cooking, watching old movies, planning maybe 2 practical vacations. She was Vanessa, 31, ambitious, creative, magnetic in the way people who never quite settle tend to be. I'm Adam, 34, software engineer, quiet, predictable, the kind of man people describe as safe. And that, apparently, was the problem. It was a Thursday night, one of those warm, early summer evenings where the city feels half alive. She suggested dinner at a rooftop bar. Something spontaneous, she said. That should have been my first hint. She wore that confident red dress she usually reserved for networking events, not date nights. Halfway through the meal, after the wine arrived, she got that look, the one she wore before saying something rehearsed. "Adam, can I ask you something personal?" "Of course. Do you ever feel like we stopped growing?" I smiled. "You mean as a couple?" "Yeah. Like, we're just comfortable." "Comfort's not bad," I said. "It's what comes after chaos." She sighed, eyes scanning the skyline. "I know, but sometimes I wonder if comfort means we gave up on excitement. I used to dream about big things, travel, risks, art, wild ideas. You make life safe, predictable, maybe too much." There was a pause, a long, heavy one. Then she said the line that carved itself into my brain. "You're the guy women marry when they stop chasing dreams." I didn't react right away. I just looked at her. She didn't say it cruelly. More like she was reading a line from a book she didn't realize she'd written herself. "So what are you saying, Vanessa?" "I don't know. Maybe I need to breathe. Maybe I need to feel something different. I love you, but I don't want to wake up at 40 wondering what I missed." I nodded slowly, took a sip of wine, and said quietly, "Then I won't keep you comfortable anymore." She frowned, confused. "What do you mean?" I signaled the waiter, asked for the check, and paid the bill. Then I looked at her and said, "You should go find whatever it is you think you're missing. Just don't expect me to wait around while you do." And I left. I didn't text, didn't call, didn't post something cryptic online. I just disappeared. That night, I packed her things, neatly, respectfully. The next morning, I left her a note. "You were right. I was the safe choice. But the thing about safety is, it's the only thing that keeps you standing when the dream collapses." Then I went to work. 2 weeks passed. Mutual friends told me she'd met someone. A venture capitalist. Older, wealthy, charismatic. The kind of man who probably never ordered the same thing twice. I wasn't jealous. Just curious. Because I knew Vanessa. I knew how she mistook instability for passion. She always said chaos made her feel alive. But chaos doesn't sustain. It consumes. Then, 3 months later, my curiosity ended when I got a text. It was from her. "Can we talk?" I didn't answer right away. I wanted to see how far she'd go. 10 minutes later. "You were right." That's when I replied. "About what?" "About safety. About dreams. About the difference between being excited and being respected." When Vanessa texted, "You were right," I didn't reply right away. Not because I wanted to punish her. I just didn't trust the timing. People don't reach for closure in the middle of happiness. They reach when the high fades and the bill comes due. So I waited. A day later, another message arrived. "Please, just one conversation. I owe you that much." We met at a cafe near my office, neutral ground. No sentimentality. She arrived looking nothing like the woman I'd last seen under the skyline. Less sparkle, more calculation behind the eyes. Still beautiful, but now in that exhausted kind of way people look when their life starts moving faster than their self-respect. "You look good," she said, forcing a smile. "Thanks. You look busy." That made her laugh, a short, brittle sound. "Yeah, you could say that." We sat in silence for a moment before she spoke again. "His name's Eric." I didn't ask who she meant. "I know," I said. "Our friends have Instagram." She winced. "Of course they do. So how's the dream life?" Her eyes flickered down to the table. It was exciting at first. Trips, dinners, parties, new people every week. He said he wanted to invest in my art, help me grow as a person. It felt like someone finally believed in me. I waited. Then, Then I realized believing in me meant curating me. He started managing who I could talk to, how I dressed, when I posted online. He said if I wanted to live his lifestyle, I had to act like I belonged in it. And did you? She exhaled. At first. Then it just started to feel like work I didn't apply for. I didn't interrupt. She wasn't confessing. She was processing. It's the look people get when they realize their dream had fine print. The funny thing, she said, is that he said something that reminded me of you. Oh, he told me. You're lucky I'm patient. Most men don't tolerate uncertainty. That's not patience, I said. That's ownership. Yeah, she whispered. It took me a while to tell the difference. Apparently, things got messy. He wasn't just rich, he was strategic. Every gift, every trip, every investment came with paperwork. He'd convinced her to sign contracts labeling her as an independent consultant, claiming he was helping her build a personal brand. When she tried to leave, he threatened to sue for breach of agreement. So now, she was stuck, legally entangled, emotionally drained, and financially dependent. The dream had turned into a beautifully lit cage. I don't expect you to care, she said softly. But I needed to tell someone who once saw me as a person, not a performance. I care, I said. Just not in the way you think. She looked up, eyes wet but steady. You hate me. No, I said. I don't hate people who fall for illusions. I just stopped trying to live inside them. She nodded slowly, then reached into her purse and pulled out a check. For the rent, I didn't pay those last 2 months. I kept meaning to. You deserve it. I looked at it, a neat, folded rectangle of apology. I pushed it back toward her. Keep it, I said. You're going to need it more than I do. Her lip trembled, but she didn't cry. She just whispered, You're still too safe, Adam. Maybe, I said, but I sleep at night. After she left, I sat there for a while, staring at the skyline again. It was the same city, same view, but everything felt quieter. Because this time, the silence wasn't about loss. It was about clarity. 2 weeks later, a mutual friend told me that Eric had suddenly relocated overseas after an investigation into one of his startups. Vanessa was left behind, unpaid, uncredited, and in legal trouble for a project he'd registered in her name. Apparently, she sold most of her belongings and moved back to her hometown. I didn't gloat, didn't even say, I told you so, because life already had. 6 months later, I got a postcard from an unfamiliar address. It was from her. I'm teaching art classes now. Small studio. It's not glamorous, but it's real. You were right. I was chasing a dream. I just didn't realize the nightmare was part of the package. Thank you for being boring when I needed stable, even if I didn't know it. There was no return address. I keep that postcard in my desk drawer, not because I still miss her, but because it reminds me of the simplest truth I've ever learned. Dreams built on escape aren't dreams. They're exits. Now, I'm seeing someone new. Emily, architect. Grounded. Laughs easily. The first time I told her this story, she said, You weren't too safe. You were just too real for someone who mistook chaos for depth. She gets it. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that rooftop dinner. The skyline. The wine. The moment I realized safety wasn't weakness, it was foundation. She wanted to chase the millionaire. She caught him and learned what dream really means when you can't wake up. Update 1. It's been a little over 2 years since that rooftop dinner. A lot's changed. New apartment, new city, new rhythm. But some things stay the same, like the way you remember people who once made your world loud. I don't think about Vanessa often anymore. Not in that aching, nostalgic way. More like how you think about an old street you used to take to work, vaguely, distantly, with quiet gratitude that you don't live there anymore. Last week, I got another letter. Same handwriting. Same small, looping script that always leaned slightly to the right. Inside was a photo, a small classroom, maybe 10 people holding paintbrushes and smiling. She was in the back, hair shorter, eyes calmer. Below the photo, one line. You were the first person who made safety sound like peace. No explanation, no apology, just that. And I realized, that's probably all she ever needed to say. I didn't reply, not out of anger, just completion. Some stories deserve to end in silence. Instead, I put the photo in a small frame on my shelf. Next to it, a Polaroid of Emily, laughing, holding a coffee mug, looking like someone who never needed a dream to feel alive. The contrast felt perfect. Not cruel, just full circle. A few nights later, I told Emily about the postcard. She listened quietly, then said something I didn't expect. You know, it's kind of beautiful that she didn't ruin you. I smiled. Yeah, I guess that's what safety's for. Sometimes people think stories like mine end with revenge or regret or some grand speech about lessons learned. But truthfully, they just end with calm. You go to sleep one night and realize you're not waiting for closure anymore because peace already moved in and took its place. I kept that postcard in my desk drawer, not to remember her, but to remind myself that the version of me she left behind, the safe one, the boring one, wasn't the problem. He was the prize. And now, finally, he knows it. Final update that it's been almost 4 years since that night on the rooftop. The night she told me I was the guy women marry when they stop chasing dreams. Back then, it sounded like an insult. Now, it sounds like a prophecy, just not the one she meant. Because today, as I'm writing this, I'm sitting in a small kitchen with the morning light coming in through the blinds. There's coffee brewing. There's laughter from the next room. Emily trying to teach our dog not to steal her socks. And I realize, this is the dream I was chasing all along. It just didn't look cinematic enough for her to recognize it. Last month, I got an email from an unfamiliar address. It was from Vanessa's art studio, a newsletter, probably automated. Her name was in the footer. She's teaching full-time now, organizing community exhibits, mentoring young artists. No glamour, no sponsors. But the photos, she looks real. She looks free. And that's when I understood something I never did before. We weren't enemies in that story. We were just incompatible lessons trying to share a chapter. She taught me that not everyone who wants excitement is built for peace. And I taught her that not everyone who offers peace is trying to cage you. Sometimes, life doesn't hand out apologies, it hands out symmetry. You get what you need when you finally stop needing it. I never replied to her postcard, but I left it in a drawer, next to a small note I wrote myself a year later. Being safe doesn't make you small. It just means you've stopped mistaking chaos for meaning. That note became my quiet compass. Every time I doubted myself, in work, in love, in trust, I'd read it and remember. You don't need to be exciting to be enough. A few weeks ago, Emily and I took a trip. Same rooftop bar where it all began. The skyline was different. New towers, new lights. But the air was the same. She asked if I'd ever brought anyone here before. I smiled. Once. A lifetime ago. Good memory? She asked. Necessary one, I said. We sat there in silence, watching the city flicker. And I realized, the irony isn't that I was too safe. It's that she never realized safety is what dreams are built on. It's the ground, not the ceiling. I don't resent her anymore. In some strange way, I'm grateful. Because losing someone who only loved your potential forces you to meet the version of yourself who doesn't need to prove anything. And once you meet that person, you stop chasing validation and start building peace. If I could say one last thing to her, it would be this. You were right. I was the guy women marry when they stop chasing dreams. I just never realized that being that guy meant I was already living one.